What is fear? When you think of fear, you probably think of what scares you the most, like a fear of heights, where you freeze up whenever you look out the window of a tall building, or a fear of spiders, where the mere sight of a spider can ruin your entire day. However, that's not all. These specific fears are triggered by the immediate danger that can come from its worst case scenario. But how about a fear where you can't get hurt? Arachibaterophobia is the intense irrational fear of peanut butter getting stuck to the roof of one's mouth. And today I'll be giving an in-depth description on the positive and negative aspects of fear.
It's no problem for me to understand why people have anxiety disorders, or why they're depressed, or why they have substance use problems. The mystery to me is always why people don't have all of those things at once.
This is the question that scientists have been researching for centuries. In the 1920s, the first experiment in relation to fear was conducted by John B. Watson, a pioneering psychologist who played an important role in developing behaviorism. The experiment he conducted was known as the Little Albert experiment, where he showed that a baby can be conditioned to fear a relatively harmless object. Before the start of the experiment, Watson had performed some emotional tests on little Albert, who had just turned 9 months old. The test consisted of his reactions to a white rat, a rabbit, a monkey, a dog, masked with and without hair, cotton wool, and burning newspaper. After little Albert showed no reaction to any of the objects and animals, the experiments began. In the experiment, Watson proceeded to have little Albert exposed to loud banging noises caused by bars slamming against each other. However, Watson had put a rat in front of Albert, leading him to believe that the white rat caused noise, resulting in little Albert crying. The following week, when tests were ran again, little Albert only cried whenever the rat was present. However, a few days later, the experiments were cancelled and little Albert was taken from the hospital due to its widespread criticism and ethical issues. The experiment is still brought up in psychology curriculum to this day because of its widespread relevancy and shown human conditioning when it comes to fear. And while this may seem like a negative, this is only touching the tip of the iceberg. In a study done in the 1980s, 721 people were monitored over a 9-year span where they were put in high anxiety situations where their anxiety produced a great decline in their processing speed, while their attention span drastically reduced in a 3-year span. And while fear can heighten our senses in scary situations, it can lead to us reacting slower in non-threatening situations and even losing memories. In 2021, a man by the name of Dr. Andrew Holmes led a study on how specific clusters in the brain can lead to preservation or suppression of traumatic memories. Published on May 26, 2021, the study focused on ICTs, which are tightly packed neurons surrounding the amygdala, a region of your brain crucial for fear and anxiety processing. By using calcium processing on mice, the team monitored the activity of ICTs as the mice learned to associate a certain cue with fear-inducing events. These findings shed light onto the complex neutral circuits underlying the persistence into conditions like PTSD and anxiety disorders, furthermore explaining why if you ever have been into an accident, whether it be from sports, cars, or even working, you can never truly remember the moment the accident happened and only events surrounding it. And this usually leads to unhappiness. Because of fear and anxiety, we may feel that we can no longer do tasks and activities that are important to us. And when this happens, we usually end up with withdrawing ourselves from social events, we no longer want to travel, and we no longer want to go to fun activities like concerts and whatnot. Sooner or later, this will affect our mood and in worst case, trigger a depressive episode. But this isn't to take away from the many positives that come from fear. We subconsciously use fear every day to keep us from bad decisions, whether it be from how fast we go while driving to where we decide to walk when we want to go outside. And this comes from your internal danger alarm. You see, when you're in a situation where you might be in danger, fear directs your attention towards the perceived threat, allowing you to identify and assess the danger. This heightened focus enhances the awareness of our surroundings, helping us to react to a threat appropriately and accordingly. But that's not all. If a situation gets too dire, then the body activates your flight or fight response, preparing you to either confront the threat or run away from it. This state increases your speed, strength, or alertness, which keeps you present in most situations. Ultimately, while fear can be positive and negative in its own rights, it's important to understand that it shouldn't control you. It's an integral part of how you go about your day-to-day life, and while it's there to guide you and protect you, it shouldn't keep you from doing what you want to achieve.